Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McKeag. I'm here live on locations pretty much in two spots today. It's going to be a July 26th and July 29th edition of the Game Sports Show from Silver Creek Golf Course, being presented on the 26th, and here at Boston Pizza for July the 29th edition. This is the last Boston Pizza edition, actually, fourth and foremost. But as I said, we're in a special edition of the Game Sports Show with two shows combined. And do we ever have an action-packed show, as always, for you? As I said, Dave McKeag. I'm alongside Brad Cochimilio and Justin Heichel. I'm going to bring in the fellows in just a few moments because we'll get through the usual introduction portion of our show. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com or on www.thegamesportshow.com. I want to give a shout out to Scott Nason, our board operator tonight. Also, I want to give a shout out to the fellas here, Brad and Justin, for stopping by as they always do, my great analysts and co-hosts, and obviously to you, the listeners, as well, for making us a part of your day. I want to give a shout out to a list of our sponsors here on the Game Sports Show. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, obviously, and of course Silver Creek Golf Courses being homes to the Game Sports Show. Obviously, Sports Center Bar and Grill, and the Wicked Sister for being homes to the Game Sports Show as well. And our new sponsor, someone whom we announced on the show last week, Northern Superior Brewery, Sault Ste. Marie, whom is a part of the Game Sports Show and will be a part of the Game Sports Show going forward. And we'll be there throughout the month of August sporadically, but it will be a part of our Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show after Labor Day long weekend. And continuing the list of sponsors here on the Game Sports Show, Northern Critters in Need, Big Brother, Big Sister, North Shore Sports and Auto, the Superior Repo Shop, Discover the Canvas, and the Salon and Pingator Cleaners in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And you can, when you go to our website, www.thegamesportshow.com, you can go to our merchandise section and purchase our t-shirts that are for sale for $25, with proceeds going towards Northern Critters in Need and Big Brother, Big Sister. And for the agenda of the Game Sports Show going forward into the week, before I bring in the fellas, as I stated that, the Game Sports Show with the month of July having over 4 shows a week, we're going to be going back down to 3 shows a week for the month of August. As I mentioned from the top, this is the last Boston Pizza edition of the Game Sports Show, even though this is a combined edition with the show, with Silver Creek being on the show on this special edition as well. But going forward for the month of August, Silver Creek Golf Course will obviously remain a home for the Game Sports Show, which will be either on Thursdays and or Sundays. And then Northern Superior Brewery, we will be on location at Pier 55 for the month of August, either Thursdays and or Sundays. Of course, Mondays, the Wicked Sister, myself, Scott, EJ, Butch Davis, and Katie Wolin, along with every second Wednesday until the end of August. Then it'll go back to every Wednesday at Sports Center Bar and Grill with myself, Matt Primo, Jamie Antonello. For this week, tomorrow, which will be Monday, July the 30th, Scott Nason, myself, will be at the Wicked Sister, and we will be on bye week from Sports Center this week. And then on Thursday, we will be at Silver Creek Golf Course when we plan to be there this week. That may be subject to change, but then August 5th, we will be at Pier 55 on location at Northern Superior Brewery. But make sure you keep an eye on our ticker for the updates going into this week. And once again, to the listeners, we apologize for some of the schedule changes that do occur. But, with the summer being as busy as it is, and with all these locations coming in and new sponsors and adjustments and everyone having lives as well and being busy, we have some alterations to our schedule. But without further ado, Brad, I'm going to go to the guy to my right. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, we kept it simple for you today, too. We made sure that we were on the right left side. And,
yeah, you did.
We didn't want to confuse you. We know how easy it is to, get into your head, right? So
yeah,
we had to make sure that we kept things simple for you.
Well, that's very nice of you, Brad. I appreciate that.
Hey, we're just looking out for you.
You know what? I think that's good to make sure I don't change too much in my rhythm, because then I just get thrown off. Yeah. That's big. And the guy to my left, Justin Heichel. How you doing, my friend?
Well, I'm here. Another day in paradise. What is it? We're Sunday now, so heading back to work tomorrow, unfortunately. But nice weekend. You got nice and tanned, obviously, I see today. Yeah, making the 5:05 appearance.
The 5:05 appearance. 5 minutes, let's say, on time.
not late, on time. But, fellas, as you just said, Justin, it's been a great weekend, and this is our last Boston Pizza edition, which, as I said, is combining with our Silver Creek edition this week. So much thanks to Aaron Grisdad, of course, here at Boston Pizza, and obviously to Jamie Henderson for being cool to allow us to split this edition this week. But, we've had a great time here. We started here at Boston Pizza on January the 4th. 2018 was our first show here at Boston Pizza. Ever since January the 4th, actually, since Boston Pizza become a part of the family on the Game Sports Show, our listeners have increased even higher into the higher thousands, and it's definitely great to have them a part of our family, and definitely comes with mixed emotions that we won't be doing shows here any longer, but it also grew us to bring another addition to our family, Northern Superior Brewery, who will be our new home on Thursdays, taking place of Boston Pizza. But as I said, this is a great farewell show to Boston Pizza. It's also a great show for Silver Creek because of the listeners that we have obviously listening, but also to the guests that we have coming on here tonight. And for tonight's agenda, we're going to be talking our first part here. We're going to be talking NHL updates, along with some Toronto Maple Leafs discussion, some local discussion that Brad's going to spearhead. When we have our first break, the first guest that we have coming on the show, which will be from Silver Creek Golf Course recording, Brandon Brooks will be on there. Then as well, we will have Colin Miller on after Brandon Brooks as well. And then to conclude the show, myself, yourself, Brad, and yourself, Justin, will be talking some baseball with the trade deadline discussion, more so towards J.A. Happ getting moved and some Blue Jays discussion. And we'll also have our announcement for a trivia question on there as well, that prolonged from Silver Creek Golf Course. The winner of 18 holes of golf will be announced at that part of the show, and we'll have the new question that will get asked for you to have a chance to win a free round of golf as well, courtesy of Silver Creek Golf Course. And this week's been a busy week in the world of golf. It's just because of city championships from the Country Club, from Silver Creek, and from Crimson. The final round is just getting basically announced. Might be able to announce it here on the show. If not, we'll make sure that we include it next week on our show if we do miss it here tonight. But fellas, without further ado, we're going to dive into this. We only have about 15 minutes here in this introduction portion, and I just probably ate up about 7 minutes of what producer Ghost is telling me right there. But we have to make sure the listeners can stay in tie with making sure they know what's going on with our show. And Brad, I'm going to go over to you first with our first discussion. Jarome Iginla. He announced his retirement from the game of hockey. Definitely someone I admired growing up, and someone who was obviously an icon in the city of Calgary and a longtime captain, and moved around to some teams in between Pittsburgh, Boston, and Colorado. There's someone who I thought was going to remain a Flame until he retired, but at the end of the day, he did move on to go to other teams to try to win a Stanley Cup because he felt that wasn't a chance in Calgary. Ultimately, he did not reach his goal of winning a Stanley Cup, but he did win gold medals and in the Olympics with Canada, and also he has many accolades to his into his career. Any comments in regards to Jarome Iginla?
Yeah, you know what I mean. It was a long and I think you could say storied career. He's a guy who, he just did everything the right way. He went about the game the right way, and he was just a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you go back to his days with the Kamloops Blazers. I believe it was Kamloops in the Western League, and
yep, you got it.
Getting drafted by Dallas, and he's just a guy who put it all together. And this is a guy who put up good numbers throughout his career. And what's not to like? I mean, he was a guy who went out, left it all out on the ice every night. I mean, he's a guy who played the game the way that should be played. And it's I don't blame him for when he wanted to kind of move on from Calgary and let's face it, chase a Stanley Cup, because at the end of the day, that's what you play in the NHL for. You get there because you have the dream of being a pro, and then once you get there, the Stanley Cup is the next goal. And it was disappointing that he didn't finish his career in Calgary. But you know what? He's a guy who, when you look back on it, there were a lot of good times and a lot of memories, and the NHL is probably not going to be quite the same without him.
Absolutely not. And I must say, with Calgary, he came close to winning the Stanley Cup, losing in Game 7 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Vinny LeCavalier, Brad Richards, Martin St. Louis, Dave Andrechuk, and among that good team that Tampa Bay had. And obviously, me being a big Vinny LeCavalier fan, it's actually my favorite hockey player was Vinny LeCavalier. But with him coming that close, not winning. Then he had some tough years in Calgary where he didn't, some playoff runs that came short, or they didn't make the playoffs. And he moved over to Pittsburgh to attempt to win, didn't. Boston, and he didn't. He had a good season in Boston too in 2013, 2014, getting 30 goals. Then he moved on to Colorado, and then after that, obviously his last games were 19 games with the Los Angeles Kings. And last year he did try to make a comeback. He did try to make the National Hockey League, but ultimately didn't happen. Justin, any reaction in terms of your view, what you think of when you hear the name Jarome Iginla?
Well, it's just going to be different going forward now. I mean, the guy was kind of a fixture in the league. There's a generation of guys, and he's probably one of the last guys to go away. I kind of compare it to the NFL, where Tom Brady is sort of the last of the dinosaurs, so to say, and Jarome Iginla was one of those guys where he was a class act pretty well from day one until the time he finished, and it was sort of in my mind, it was a good guy to have on your team regardless, just to have your young players play around, learn from, and grow around that guy. Any locker room he was in benefited from him, and it'd be nice to see him back coaching sometime.
I'd sure like to see if Calgary can potentially bring him in on board or do something with that. I'm not sure where Jarome stands, where he wants to go now beyond after retirement, but I'm sure one day with his kind of leadership, his attitude, and his personality just in general, he'll definitely be someone who can be considered as a coach, even if he has to start maybe where he started his WHL career, Kamloops. Maybe if he can start somewhere, build and get that coaching experience. If not, I'm sure an organization like Calgary can use the potential brains and connections that Jarome can provide. If you're a player who wants to sign in Calgary, we saw it with Toronto with Brandon Shanahan. Obviously, Dubas spearheaded that conversation with bringing in Tavares. And sticking on topic here, though, when you have someone like Jarome Iginla come in a room, that's a role model to many kids that are coming up today. And imagine being able to have him sit you down and say, hey, come play for Calgary for these reasons, or whatever organization that he is representing. So for me to think of Jarome Iginla, I think of somebody who's a true leader, defined the term of captain, was definitely the face of Calgary, and definitely deserves to have his number retired. I expect that to be very, very soon, if not this year, for that number to be retired there. If it isn't retirement, or if that number's not retired, so that would be a disgrace. But ultimately, there's a guy that I thought of was the defined leadership, and somebody who I enjoyed watching, and he'll definitely be missed in the game of hockey for sure. Fellas, moving on, the Tom Wilson contract. Get into some of the updates. We're going to talk about this and some re-signing updates before we get into our multiple choice segment, before we go to our break, because we know Brendan Brooks is eager to be on the show here. Tom Wilson signed for a $5.1 million cap hit. I know some other digits in there as well. Producer Gold said I can hear you in my ear. But at the end of the day, Tom Wilson signed for, doesn't matter what the number is, above 5. He signed for a lot of money in Calgary. And the amount of years was 6 years with Washington. A large cap hit for a guy that, truthfully, I don't see as a first-line guy. I really don't see him as a first-line guy, or a guy that's going to be that guy I'm putting on that first-unit power play. All right, I know he was a first-round pick, 16th overall in the 2012 entry draft for the Washington Capitals. This is a guy who scored 14 goals and 21 assists of 35 points last year. Before that, he hasn't scored more than 7. He had 3 and 4 in his first couple years. And the OHL for Plymouth, he never scored more than 50, even though he only played 48 that last year. But he didn't score more than 25 goals. He had 58 points his last year. He had over 180 penalty minutes this year. And when I think of this, I'm thinking of guys that are making $5 million right now. And I was thinking, okay, you have Bozak. You have guys that just signed for that David Perron that's a little bit less. But then I go and look at it and say, wait a second, let's go to right in my backyard where I think of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Nazem Kadri, $4.5 million. Morgan Riley, $5 million. Yeah, they re-signed at a different time. Yes, for sure, different eras, sort of, in terms of the salary cap projections. But at the end of the day, you're getting more value from a guy from David Perron, from Nazem Kadri, from Morgan Riley. Yeah, 2 different positions when it comes to Wilson and Riley. Absolutely. But the list goes on and on in terms of players that are signed for less. Colin Miller, Soo's own, guy who's on the show today. 3.8. And he was the leading defenseman in points for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Again, different position, I understand. But I think everyone's getting the gist here of what certain impact players are doing for certain organizations. Yes, I think he's a big part. But where I see the big part is in the penalty minutes. I think the penalty kill unit is getting a lot of time from him, and the penalty kill unit loves when he's on the ice because they're probably going to get right back on the ice if they just got off the ice because of a power play or penalty kill. So I must say, with Tom Wilson, he is way overpaid in this scenario. I don't know if Washington knows that this cap is going up $20 million next year or something that we do not know, which would, if you're a Leaf fan, you would love. Absolutely. But, Justin, is it go without saying here that Washington overpaid for Tom Wilson?
I guess this generation of fans, David Clarkson contract.
I was thinking that.
That's, to me, this is exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be praying that he gets hurt and they don't have to pay him in a couple of years. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's a terrible thing to wish on a guy.
Why wouldn't they just let him walk?
But it just, that seems like a substantial amount of money for that production. And are they just paying him for the playoff run? And like I don't know what kind of no trade or anything is built.
Good point. 15 points
into that contract, but like you can't. I don't know. I really. This is bad all the way around.
I think this is going to constrain Washington going forward.
Well, and if some players are going to look at this and try to set a precedent for their own negotiations, they're going to be in for some awful tough times.
Yeah.
Or Tom Wilson's agent, his phone has been ringing off the hook all weekend. Like that's, like, I just don't get this contract. I don't understand it. Maybe they're going to pull a Garth Snow and promote him to GM at some point. And lock him down. I honestly don't know. It doesn't make sense. Your amount of money you're putting out to the reward in his production it doesn't work. For that amount of money around the league, you can get 100 to 150 better players. That's fact.
I think that is a fact. For that money,
so I mean,
is David Perron better than Tom Wilson?
Yeah, he is 100%.
I think so too.
100%.
That playoff run, I think he is.
Just because Tom Wilson has a Stanley Cup doesn't all of a sudden inflate his contract to
$2 million
extra
more.
$1 million, or like it doesn't make sense to me. He's overpaid.
100% overpaid. Brad, I'm going over to you with your reaction. I think it's going to be a clean sweep when it comes to the Tom Wilson discussion. I know your eyes are just like, how's this guy getting this money? I wouldn't mind making that money though. Hey, you can't be mad at Tom Wilson though. Like Tom Wilson's like, yeah, I'll take $5 million. Like, no shit.
Yeah, Brad just got off the phone with Wilson's agent.
Yeah, like let's get real here. This isn't Tom Wilson's fault. I don't know if Wilson went in there and said, "Hey, I want $6 million" or something. Like maybe he kind of put his numbers on the table with something high. But for him to get this money, good on him and good on his agent. Like Justin just said, absolutely. But Washington, I feel, are absolutely stupid to do this. And I'm sorry, I'm saying that professionally. I think this, unless the guy comes out this year and gets 30 goals and 30 assists, I'll put my mouth. I'll shut my mouth, which is very rare for me to say, or I'll put soap in my mouth to eat my words. I don't know what the right term would be. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking on top of my head as I go here. But Tom Wilson is definitely getting overpaid.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're Tom Wilson, you would be crazy to say no to this money.
Yeah, I don't want $5 million.
I'm totally not worth that. I'll take 3 instead. And credit to Tom Wilson's agent for going out and doing his job. And you know what? Like, I look at Tom Wilson's contract, and as weird as it's going to sound, I kind of draw the comparison to. I'm trying to think. I had this debate with someone who was comparing, and I wish I could think off the top of my head, but I mean it's basically like, you can't discredit the player or the agent, right? It's it's at the end of the day, it's the team's fault for overpaying a guy. And you're paying him on the expectation that he's going to have a big year, but there are no numbers that Tom Wilson can put up to justify this contract right now. Like, he has to have an extremely substantial jump in production for him to make this contract worth it. He's not in a position, and I get that there are people that are going to say, well, he brings a lot of intangibles to the table. Yes, he does, but not $5 million worth. That's my biggest issue, is the fact that, at the end of the day, he doesn't bring enough to justify what he's making. And, obviously, like you say, you can't take away from the player, you can't take away from the agent for doing that. I mean, they're going out and doing what they're expected to do. And, maybe Tom Wilson had this unrealistic expectation of what he was worth. But, at the end of the day, it's, he's just not worth that kind of money. And, the worst part is at this point, Washington's setting a very unrealistic expectation of what Tom Wilson's production level should be next year. They're going to be expecting even more than what they got in the playoffs.
At least 50 points plus.
Well, and that's exactly it. They're in a position where, they're expecting so much more at this point, just because of the fact that he's getting that size contract. And to go back to what I was saying earlier, David Krejci was the guy I was thinking of. David Krejci's contract was similar to what John Tavares was making. And I had this debate with a Boston Bruins fan who told me that David Krejci was as good as John Tavares and should be putting up John Tavares numbers because they were making the same money. And to that, I said the same thing that I would say about Tom Wilson. It's not David Krejci's fault that he's underperforming on a contract that the team was crazy enough to give him. The team is overpaying the player. That's not the player's fault. If the player can't reach an expectation, and that's the issue here, is Washington's setting an unrealistic standard for what Tom Wilson's production should be next year. Now, if Tom Wilson doesn't go out and score 20-plus goals and 50-plus points, people are going to say, well, he's overpaid. Why are you giving him that much money? So at some point you have to question the team. And, intangibles come into play, but I don't think they're big enough in this situation to justify the size of the contract.
Definitely not. My God, all I can really say is definitely, just echo you guys, definitely overpaid, and he has to produce this year to really make up those dollars. Fellas, moving on, before we have just a certain amount of time here before we have to bring Brendan Brooks on in. We'll go through the updates, the notable updates in terms of some free agent re-signings. Jake Virtanen, who was considered an RFA with the Canucks, re-signed a 2-year, $2.5 million contract for $1.25. Dan Hamhuis, 2 years for a cap hit of $2.5 with Nashville. Jacob Trouba, was awarded arbitration for 1 year, $5.5 million, be a cap hit there. Brooks Orpik, who was a UFA, had his contract moved to Colorado, was bought now, has now re-signed in Washington for 1 year, $1 million. Brandon Monitor, 2 years, $6.775 for $3.3875 million cap hit. Brock Wilson resigns a 1 year, $4.25 with the Islanders. Matt Dumba resigns with the Minnesota Wild, somebody whom I thought the Leafs would potentially target. However, he has resigned a 5-year, $30 million contract extension with the Wild, which will be a $6 million cap hit. And also, whom resigned is Jason Zucker with the Minnesota Wild, 5 years, $5.5 million, which I felt was kind of high as well. Speaking of high contracts, then Brady Shea. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that name. Producer Ghost knew I would as well. But 6 years, $5.25 million cap hit. Now,
gotta love a guy who had the only 2 vowels in his name are at the end.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I should let you announce that name. Jesus. But those are some notable re-signings. And moving forward, fellas, we can see a lot of contracts. Some were high, some were lower. But one that really stood out to me that was pretty much extremely high was Jason Zucker's. Not saying I'm doubting his talent, but again, someone you're going to hopefully get 25-plus goals and to have expectations. Winnipeg with Jake Trouba. I know some people are upset about what he got awarded, but I actually think that's a good hit for Jacob Trouba of his caliber. Moving on, fellas, what's a topic here? We're going to go John Maple Leafs quickly before we go to multiple choice segment. We have about 5 minutes left here on this part. The Leafs have been rumored for a lot of trades now. Okay, this is the center of Toronto Maple Leafs media when it comes to the offseason. The amount of rumors that come on in is absolutely insane. But the Artemi Panarin, rumors have been pretty much off the charts, and a lot of things going on when Elliot Friedman tweeted that out. It seems like the Leafs are still in that kind of realm to try to get that one-year rental guy. But now there's been some very interesting rumors with the Toronto Maple Leafs towards the Minnesota Wild now. With Dumba re-signing, you have Nino Niederreiter and Jared Spurgeon. Apparently the rumors that are in Toronto right now in terms of making a deal. Now, we don't know some of the young guys that would go back to the way we were thinking draft pick is potentially. You're thinking Kasperi Kapanen might be one of the guys. You know Nylander, Marner, and Matthews, or none of those young guns are going to be the guys. So it leaves Connor Brown and Kasperi Kapanen pretty much exposed, and I think it's more so Kasperi Kapanen, along with Carl Grundstrom. I know he's been a lot of rumors as well. Very good prospect, but he could be potentially on the move as well. Either way, if the Leafs make a trade for either or player, I think the one with the Minnesota Wild makes the most sense, because I like the idea of adding an affordable defenseman whom is locked up until 2020, 2021, an affordable cap rate, along with Nino Niederreiter locked up until the same year as well, as contract security, and also gives him that third line player because just to play with Nazem Kadri, and because you lost Leo Komarov. I think that's an upgrade from Komarov, to be totally honest with you. And having Kadri, Brown, and Nino Niederreiter on a line, I feel be a very good, prominent third line. And Spurgeon, I think that's somebody that you can put with somebody named Jake Gardner, or you can put him with Morgan Riley. I think I actually like him with Morgan Riley a bit more. I just think that makes a bit more sense. I think Hainsey should be brought down to where Roman Polak was on the third pairing, give him a little bit less ice. Not that I'm pointing at his age, but I feel like his expectation of being a top pairing defenseman should not be the case for Ron Hainsey. So those are some Toronto Maple Leaf rumors I wanted to state. I'm going to go to the table here with Brad and Justin to quickly get your thoughts on both those rumors about Panarin into Toronto, the Minnesota rumor to Toronto. I know they've also been tied to Chris Tanev from the Vancouver Canucks. A lot of different people. Dubas is probably answering that phone day in and day out. But out of the two trades rumors that I brought up, Brad, which one stands out to you the most that makes most sense?
You know what? I'm a big Nino Niederreiter fan. I always have been. There's something about his game that I like a lot. I think he'd be, he's a guy that, and I say this a lot about certain guys, but he's a guy that I think is, he's one of those guys that he can just be a good fit on a lot of teams. I feel like, he's, at the end of the day, he's just, he's a guy who's going to put up some numbers for you. He's going to give you a solid effort, and he's a guy that, again, could be a good fit in Toronto. I mean, it's a team that's deep offensively, but, it just adds a little bit of depth there. And that's, at the end of the day, depth is never a bad thing, especially when you've got a group like what Toronto's building there. To have that little extra depth would probably be a good fit.
I can't remember this excitement that I felt for Toronto with the team. I feel like a little boy at Toys R Us right now. And I shouldn't say that speaking on a sports talk show, but I'm saying it. If you're a Leaf fan, you should be very excited right now. I feel it's time to start putting the frown upside down, which I think you should have stopped having upside down 2 years ago, mind you. But definitely going the right path. And either trade, Justin, I know you'll agree, will probably be good moves. I know us being Leaf fans and going through the pain that we did, having a rental player doesn't really stick out to us, despite what Panarin is as an elite scorer. I can't even imagine what it would cost to get him, because I think it'd be even more than it would cost to get Spurgeon and Nino Niederreiter. Maybe. I know they're two good players, but in terms of fit, I'm curious to get your opinion as well of what you think would be a good fit between those two rumors.
Well, I really do like the idea of Panarin being on the team. Who wouldn't? That's pretty well your optimal fantasy hockey lineup on one team right there. But what scares me about the potential of either Panarin or even Niederreiter being in the roster is not the artificial inflation of other players' numbers, but just the increase in other players' numbers going in to renegotiate or negotiate contracts. You're kind of screwing yourself. No one's talking about Josh Levo, and I'm a firm believer that Josh Levo could put up some numbers if you put him on a line with Tavares and anyone, or stuck him with stick him with Tavares and Marner and see what happens. I bet you can put up.
You're a big believer of Levo.
Oh well, he's never got a chance.
Well, did you move him in this trade?
No, you have all these players with potential on your own friggin' roster. You just got to use them. Like now, like a lot of this
doesn't like using them for some reason.
a lot of like we talk about this stuff and it's just spitballing things rumors we see in the news, but there's a lot of guys on the roster that have been underexposed to the NHL club, and so the casual fan isn't gonna pick these guys up and say, hey, this is. We have a lot of not necessarily our own rentals, but we've got so much depth right now that we're still in the mentality of the standard Leaf fans where we got to trade for this, we got to trade for that, we got to trade for this. But the depth is there, the talent is there, and I think going forward we don't need to do a whole lot. I would like Jared Spurgeon, don't get me wrong,
Good fit.
but I'm content with Jake Gardner. Everyone knows that. I'll continue saying that.
At least two of the three of us are on board with that.
Very interesting article with Jake Gardner that I took the time to read today, and it's makes sense. But everyone points a finger at Game 7, but maybe give him a little bit of credit. Will remain to be seen. I won't get into that discussion. But moving on from the Leafs side of rumors, definitely excited to see what Dubas can do for the rest of the offseason. We got two more topics going to bring up. Producer Ghost has bought us a couple more minutes in time with this segment because we got to make sure we talk the local hockey side of things, obviously. And Brad, I've since the last show here, we've had Jordan Smith was brought on as assistant coach, and Jamie Tardiff was brought on as assistant coach as well with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the Sioux Thunderbirds, whom are going to be part of our show, obviously, and in our partnership for after in September we start off with Northern Superior. Obviously, them being on now, but we're going to be a part of their analysis and updates, especially having you on the show, which with you representing SooDay.com and spearheading the Soo Greyhounds and Sioux Thunderbirds and local hockey edition here. I'm going to give you some time here on the mic in terms of talking with the Jordan Smith hiring, the Tardiff hiring, just some updates in that perspective. I know you got some notes here with some Canada news as well, so I'm going to let you spearhead that before we have our multiple choice segment, and then we have break to bring in Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? The big news, obviously, is just the idea that they bring in Jordan Smith, a local guy who obviously spent some time with the Sioux Thunderbirds as a head coach and had a lot of success, and he's coming over from a Sudbury team that struggled, which is, not saying much, but that was a tough position to be in Sudbury. That's an organization that's really struggled here over the last few years. So Jordan coming in as an associate coach, and it's almost strange in the sense that the last two associate coaches, Jordan Smith and Joe Sorella, they've come in and they've been in a position where they're working in a system that is, puck possession, up-tempo style. But both guys didn't play that style when they were players. They were more, solid physical defensemen. So, it's a little different. But, I mean, both guys, like Joe Sorella did a great job with the Greyhounds defensemen over, the 6 years that he was here. And, I would think that Jordan Smith's going to be the same way. I would think that, the Greyhounds defensemen are going to develop really well under him, who, had a pretty promising pro career ahead of him before, an unfortunate eye injury derailed that. And Jamie Tardiff, he was, he's a former OHL player. He actually spent the 2017-18 season, and I didn't realize this, but he spent the 2017-18 season as a player assistant coach with the Quad City Mallards of the ECHL. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, that's, 2 steps down from the NHL, and here's a guy who's already, he's coming in at, I believe he's 33 years old. He's coming in as, an assistant coach. He's a young guy. He played in the league, and, he was a member of the Peterborough Pete's OHL title team in 2006, and we talked about it off air. That was Pete's team that swept the London Knights in the OHL final. It had, 3 guys who put up over 100 points, and 257 goal scorers in Robbie Schrump and Dave Bolin. So that was a pretty darn good London team. And, Justin mentioned it off air. That was kind of the first real recent dynasty that the London Knights had. So, he's a guy who's got a lot of experience, and he's going to be a good fit. And, just on the Hockey Canada front, I mean, the U17 development camp just finished yesterday. Yeah. So yesterday or Friday, and then, we're in a position now where the U18 camps, they're going on their selection camp. They're starting scrimmages on Monday. That team's going to be named later in the week and represent Canada at the the newly named Holinka Gretzky Memorial Tournament in Western Canada. Yeah, so hey, that's a little bit of a local tie. Nick Porco's a member, of the Canadian entry for at least for the selection camp anyway. So he's competing for a spot in that club, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares. I'm looking forward to seeing some of that. And National Junior Showcase camps coming up this week as well. So we're going to get our first look at the potential national junior team members for Canada, the States, Sweden, and Finland. They're all going to be out in Kamloops this coming week for a handful of days and play a bunch of exhibition games. So it's getting to that point. Hockey season is not that it ever really ends, but this is the point where it's really starting to amp up again.
Brad Kochmelio, ladies and gentlemen, from SooToday.com, spearheading the local edition here on the Game Sports Show. And as I said on the top before I brought Brad in there, we here on the Game Sports Show will be working closely with all local hockey, more so than previous years. Obviously, we're going to be spearheading a lot of that, especially working lots with the Sault Thunderbirds and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Now, fellas, we have something to say. Well, actually, Brad, I got to make sure I say this. I just got told this from producer Ghost to make sure I say this. True or false? I had 100 points in my career in a season one time.
That's, you know what? I can't. I don't know that I can. Maybe 100 points total in your junior career.
That's junior, yes. Bantam, I had 97 points.
Now the key question here is, who are your line mates on that team to make sure you had that many points?
I led that. Come on. Just.
You're not going to hear very many points where I'm speechless, but that may have been the closest I've ever been.
The reason why I brought that up because you brought up 100 points with London and with Tardiff. Correct, with Tardiff, they're having good time there with London. With Peterborough against London. Sorry, thank you very much. I was 100% listening, just kind of laughing at my own joke here. But going to the multiple choice segment here quick before we go to our break to bring in Brendan. We appreciate Brendan having his patience here on the Boston Pizza and Silver Creek edition of the Game Sports Show, the combined edition. The Dragon Ball Z, Goku, and Vegeta version. If people know that reference, I won't go there. I thought that if you know what that reference is, I'll be very shocked. I know Justin gets it. I like that. But multiple choice segment. I'm sure you guys all have your topics that you're going to be bringing to the table. Brad, I'm going to go over to you first for the first topic.
You know what, and this actually changed for me just based on the idea that we're talking about, hockey camps and national junior camps in July, at the end of July. At this point, I've reached the idea that, hockey is maybe a little over the top. Have we reached a point where hockey is too much, so to speak? Are we at a point where, has hockey reached a point where the season is too long? Yes or no? And for me, I honestly feel like it is. Like, for me,
NHL or anything,
like just in general, because we're looking at a point where the last week of July, we're already talking about selection camps and development camps. You've got NHL development camps going in June and July. So really the season never ends. We can't sit here and say that, the NHL season basically the NHL season basically runs, the regular season runs, first week of October. Training camps start in September. So you're basically running, NHL is running from September to June just for training camp, regular season, and playoffs. And then you add June and July where you have where teams are having development camps. So you're basically saying the NHL season is 11 months. You have 11 months of NHL hockey in some form. Major junior hockey, it's no different. You're at a point where, the Memorial Cup finishes at the end of May. And, you're pretty much don't play in June, and then in mid to late July, you're starting these development camps and you're starting selection camps for a hockey tournament that's in July, a junior tournament. So there are junior players that are going to be playing hockey for 10 or 11 months of the year. And I get that this is a business, but, for me, the answer is yes. I feel like we've hit the point where, hockey is just... It's too much, and as weird as it is to say that as a hockey guy,
Justin's thinking
it just feels like the hockey season is too long.
I'll go first on that answer. You already answered yours, so you said yes. I'm going to go no from being someone who played it as far as, to a relevant, decent level of hockey. That I loved playing that summer. I just loved playing it and having it a part of my life. If you truly love the game and have it as a passion, you don't mind it. You don't mind it. It's like working a full-time job. If you enjoy what you're doing, you don't work a day in your life. Right, Brad? I know you know that feeling better than anybody in this room. But I treat it as that. I'm going to have to say no and actually go against Brad, where I think it's, if you want to be good at something, you got to be practiced. You got to always be on the ice, got to be steady. Look, when we talk to Colin, that's one thing I'm going to bring up and see what he does here in the offseason. Same with Brooksy. There's guys that, have it on the show, they've said that their offseason routines have changed the past 10 years or even when they were younger in terms of having being on the ice all the time or not being on the ice. Everyone's different. Depends how you are and where you want to be as a player. I'm in firm belief that you have to be on the ice as much as possible, 10 to 11 months, have that 1 month to yourself to be able to relax and recuperate, because being young, your body could recuperate quickly. I think, though, to answer your question, though, no, I don't think it's too long. I think if you want to be good at something, you continue to do it, and you always continue to ascend upwards, and you got to continuously do it night in and night out to a certain limit, obviously. Justin.
I'm going to agree with you, and I don't think it's too long.
What the heck is this?
Well, I do agree with a lot of Brad's points, but the league has positioned itself where it's so competitive. So the competition's out there to allow the league to basically, not just the NHL, but to allow the sport of hockey to just go full, all year round, 365 days. If you're not training or you're not on the ice or you're not honing some sort of aspect of your game, then you're falling behind, and there's someone out there looking to replace you.
There's a saying that I heard, Justin, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there's a saying that I heard that if you want to go somewhere, Andrew Moraca said this, well known as Sault Ste. Marie, he said that if you're good enough, we'll find you on a hockey rink, on a hockey pond. But every 10 clicks down the road, there's somebody else who wants your spot.
See, and that being said, for me, I would argue that point that there's a difference between training for the game and being on the ice. For me, my argument isn't more so that training for hockey is one thing, because you could train in the weight room, you could train in different ways where I feel like we've put too much of a precedent on being on the ice, that you have to be on the ice to be the best player available. To me, you can play other sports, you can do other things that are going to be just as good for you in the long run in terms of being a hockey player, than just being on the ice.
Wow. Okay, this is a good topic here. Justin, I interrupted you. Sorry, I almost came a little too close to the mic there. I'll let you finish off your points, and then we're going to go, when you're done, we'll go right to your question.
Well, just to finish up quickly, I do believe that the NHL season could probably end in May. This year, we were complaining. The NHL, the finals, they drug it out over 14 days for 7 games. That's ludicrous. Just trying to rake in your ad revenue after showing the same 15, the same commercials over and over again. If I have to hear about where that guy roasted or picked up the Tim Hortons roasted beans ever again, enough with the commercials and dragging it out.
More media saying that.
Well, no, but really, have different commercials at least, or better movies or something to advertise. It's just
Avengers, Infinity War,
Part
2.
Yeah, but it came out in April, so the Leafs were still playing.
Yeah, they were. They did lose in Game 7.
But just to cap it off, I do believe that the NHL season could probably end in May and probably start mid to late October versus the beginning of October. But it's business, right? And they're going to try and squeeze as many profits out of it as they possibly can. So regardless of player safety or whatever, it's still a business.
We jump right into now, Justin, your question.
It's semi-hockey related, semi-not hockey related.
Okay.
But it's a jab nonetheless.
Okay. I know what you're going with this, I think.
If Johnny Manziel is successful in Montreal, is he the new sports figure in that city, given the current state of affairs there?
I'm going to dive first again because I'm budging 10 today. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, Carey Price will be the guy as long as he's there. If not, then you might be right. Quickly to say that, and not Max Pacioretty. There's no more Piqué Subban there. There's nothing else. I tried to make that more French. Piqué. I don't know why. I apologize. Didn't that well. Not Brendan Gallagher. Carey Price is the sports figure there, in my opinion. Still until the day he is moved, and hopefully moved on behalf of his sake for that rebuild that's going to happen in Montreal for the prime of his career. So I got to say no to that. But if Carey leaves, then absolutely Manziel would be, especially if he gets a Grey Cup. Brad?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think we've reached a point where the Montreal Canadiens are so dysfunctional at this point, and I never thought I'd say they're one of the most dysfunctional teams, not named the Ottawa Senators.
Yikes.
Who I still think are the most dysfunctional team in the NHL right now. But I feel like Johnny Manziel is the thing in Montreal right now. I mean, let's face it, nobody's talking Carey Price. Nobody's talking Montreal Canadiens. Everybody's talking, when's Johnny Manziel going to start? When's Johnny Football going to play? When's he going to get a start? And, I feel like he's reached that point where he is the big sports figure in Montreal.
Be a good topic to bring to our roundtable in the next edition of Sports Center as well. We did introduce Antonello and Primoz as we did discuss on the previous edition. But it'd be good to see. That's a very good question, Justin. But obviously to go to you to conclude your question before we go to myself for our last question. Then we got to go to our break. Producer Ghost is zipping my ear. You know that zap that you give a dog, or you get like a little zap? I'm getting that in the ears.
See, to me, I just think Manziel and Montreal are kind of a perfect fit for each other. The city of Montreal, the province of Quebec, lives with a chip on their shoulder, and Manziel's got a couple right now.
He's got at least one on each.
And so if he can keep his nose clean there and stay out of trouble, I really do think that the city and the province could support him. I mean, look at Anthony Calvillo. He was a legend.
And he always will be.
And he always will be.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, not to, overshadow our hockey talk, but I think it's interesting. It's a bit of a changing of the guard there in Montreal, given the current state of affairs with the Habs, and maybe fans just getting sick of it. But that's Johnny Montreal. Vive le Johnny Montreal.
Did you hear that he has to learn the playbook in French? Did you hear about that? He has to learn the playbook in French.
I never learned the playbook in English.
Anyways, but I like how you used kind of the hockey tie and sports tie there. But I'm going to go to my topic, and I'm going to use it with Jarome Iginla to conclude this topic. Jarome Iginla, there's a lot of different topics or kind of moments that you remember, and me trying to I'm trying to think of so many and make sure I don't miss any in terms of him winning the gold medal, him scoring his 600th goal, him winning the Maurice Richard as well, and there's a lot of his moments in Olympic hockey, and it seems that Jarome, just the impact. I just kind of want to go around in terms of what's your favorite moment with Jarome Iginla. And I'm going to kind of pull out the multiple choice A, B, C, D standard. I'm just going to go around the table and keep this an open-ended bonus question of sorts in terms of what's the favorite memory that you remember with Jarome Iginla. I'm going to start with you, Brad.
You know what? For me, it's easy. The Olympics. And not even not even the Olympics in general, but winning the gold in 2010. I mean, that whole moment was it was something, and that's something, that's a Jarome Iginla moment I'm always going to remember. I'll forget about his 600th goal, and, I'll forget some of the little things, but that's something that's always going to stand out in my mind.
Like that, I'm going to go second before I go to Justin for last here. I know I was kind of thinking along the lines when he fought Vinny Lecavalier, be my favorite one, to be my favorite hockey player being Vinny. Then Iginla being close up there for myself as well. But I got to say the one that I really liked was his game in 2010. He's the one who gave Crosby the pass for Crosby to get the golden goal, as it was called. So I gotta stick alongside with yourself there, Brad, and stay with the Olympics. But it's that performance in that game, giving that pass to Crosby. That's my favorite moment with Jarome Iginla. Justin,
I'm taking the fight with Lecavalier, only because you saw how complete of a player Jarome Iginla was. He wasn't.
he defined.
He was everything. He was a leader. He was a grinder. He was gonna punch your teeth out if you made him mad. He did everything.
He did absolutely everything.
And as he got older and a little more mature, then he honed the offensive end of his game a little more and got to passing. But I like seeing him get into the fisticuffs and causing some problems.
Captain Jarome Iginla. Dave McKeag alongside Brad Kochmilio and Justin Heiko. We're at Boston Pizza now with Brendan and Colin. We're going to be at the Silver Creek side, and then we're going to be back at the Boston Pizza here to conclude the show. However, fellas, it's going to be my goodbyes to you. As for the concluding part of the show, it'll be myself and I talking baseball and our trivia question, announcing our trivia question winner as well. So this is me saying goodbye to you guys. Brad, go to you first. I'll see you this week for our another Silver Creek edition that we have this week, and also our opener at Northern Superior Brewery.
Looking forward to it. New place to visit, and just get settled in for a
big year.
Yeah, some more. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's put it that way.
It is. Pretty soon they're going to have a delicious beer on tap, too. Can't tell you what that's going to be. People are very nosy, though. I've been getting messages. People are very nosy. The news travels fast in this city, and I appreciate that. Listeners, you guys got to stop scaring me with knowing things ahead of time, though. But I'm not going to announce on radio because I'm not allowed to do that. Justin, over to you, saying goodbye to you, and we'll see you this week with Silver Creek and our Northern Superior Brewery edition, August 5th.
I'll be there, maybe with bells on. Probably not, but maybe.
I love that. That's his catch every time he says that. Every time. So I'm going to say goodbye to the fellows right now. We're going to go to our break. When we come back, Brendan Brooks, which will be followed by another break in which Colin Miller will be on. And then to conclude the show, you'll be listening to just my voice talking some Major League Baseball updates and our trivia question here on the Boston Pizza and Silver Creek special edition of the Game Sports Show. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.as.me-. The Salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Soo Pee-wee Pro Shop. The Soo Pee-wee Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Soo Pee-wee Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Soo Pee-wee Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Hi, it's Craig Hartsburg, former NHL player and NHL coach. Welcome to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's David McKeag, and I'm here live at Silver Creek Golf Course, and I'm alongside one of my good friends who's no stranger to the Game Sports Show, no stranger to me. He was a stranger to my golf game today, which I'm sure he was quite surprised about that atrocious effort on the golf course by yours truly. I forget what I shot, Brooksy, but I think we'll get to that in just a few moments. So, introduce you here, though, first, obviously. Brendan Brooks, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, and you shot a 58 on 9. Yeah, that's just to let you know.
58 on 9, but I think I just went with a double bogey that last hole, though.
Yeah, you definitely got better.
Yeah, that's because I had good teachers out on the course today. Definitely a beautiful day of golf, and we are at Silver Creek. We're here at Silver Creek for their wing night, and we're enjoying some great beers, obviously, as well as we sit here and discuss the best thing to discuss, hockey and sports. And Brooksy, I've had you on the show. We've talked about your background. We talked about where you were signing last year. We had you on last summer. Then we had you on previous to that when we actually first were at the show at the Sports Center Bar and Grill. We did it out of our media station. That's when that was first on. So this is your third time on the show. and now we're at a different spot. We're at Silver Creek. We've grown as a show, and you were one of our first interviews that we've had. So I know you've seen this show come and grow into all these different kind of locations. So I know you're no stranger to how we're going to do things today. But we're going to jump into the season that just passed. Expectations, hopefully, for this upcoming year. What's going on without the off season, your plans going forward, and just what's going on with Brooksy in life, and maybe some reaction if we have time on maybe some of the NHL off season if you want to get into that if we have time. So we'll dive right in. Obviously, congratulations on a great year that you had first with the Clan.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it was an exciting year, and our team didn't have a great year, but individually it was very successful for the old guy.
For the old guy, you had 32 goals, 25 assists, 57 points. You're 39 years of age, Brooksy. And I had to confirm that by looking on the statistics. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? Because you act and play like you're 30. You're young at heart. You've played around different leagues. You played in the Met JHL. You played in the OHL, East Coast, UHL, IHL, Swiss. You played in Austria. You played in the Dell League as well. You've been around to different leagues. You've had those experiences, which is fantastic. And you also have international experience. And this year you won the World Championships with Britain. You have the second year in a row, correct? If you want to talk to our listeners about that.
Yeah, I joined. I was able to join Great Britain, and we played in Group 1B a couple years ago, and we won gold. And then this past season, we moved up to Group 1A, and we were able to win gold again, which was an amazing feat for Great Britain's hockey. And next year we're going to be in the A pool with Canada, Sweden, Russia, all the big boys. So it's really good for the small country, and I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Definitely an awesome experience. A lot of people don't really get that. You winning back to back, winning that. What kind of feeling do you get from winning a gold medal to represent Britain? I know you're from St. Catharines originally, so I know Canada's your first crest that's probably embedded on your body, but you have a lot of experience overseas, so Britain's a part of you as well. But so winning a gold, winning a championship for your country, I'm sure that's an amazing feeling that you can most certainly share a lot of experience and reaction on.
I was able to play for Canada a couple times, back in the day, and for me it was this next transition to play for Great Britain was more for my family side. My grandma, my mother were born over there, and this was a big opportunity for me to show them and be a part of their heritage, and it was really good to be able to represent Great Britain and be a part of it.
What's the secret, Brooksy? I know everyone who is you're not saying that you're older or anything, because you're not, but you know what, you've hit the fountain of youth when it comes, it seems like you're playing. You're still scoring goals. You still got speed. I'm convinced you're going to play for my mayor's team when you don't officially retire. You come home to play. But sticking to jokes aside, how do you stay in shape? How do you stay focused? What makes Brandon Brooks Brandon Brooks?
I don't know. I love the game of hockey, so it's been my life. I've played 23 years professional, so it's been a long road, and I've known nothing else. So I just love it, and I know what it takes to be able to stay and continue to play at the high levels. My training has obviously changed. It's not about how much weight you're putting on or strength, everything. It's more about keeping your endurance. I've switched over to swimming, and the last 2 years it's been nothing but swim as much as possible. And I've been able to, I feel like my conditioning is at the highest it's been in a long time.
I think you were touching on that when we had you on last summer that you were doing that. I've even had a discussion with Colin Miller about the different kind of training that goes on, and we have, like I said, already touched on that since we've had you on the show. But swimming, cardio, it's not about pumping those bench presses anymore. It's not about even the squat rack as much anymore, or those deadlifts or anything like that. It's about having that cardio. It's about having that dedication to controlling footwork, and working in the field with parachutes, more. Plyometrics, is that the correct term? I think I'm looking for. So is that what's more focused on your end when it comes to training? Are you still training every day?
No, I don't train as much anymore. I kind of let the body rest. Sometimes you need the rest when you get to my age, I guess.
You're young.
I think you don't need that anymore. The game's speed. Everything is as fast as you can, and the more conditioning you are, the more you're going to get on the ice. So I've totally switched. Like I said, you do need that strength, but the quicker the better.
definitely speed is a big part of today's game, especially overseas in Europe. And we're going to have Colin Miller on just after yourself. And, that's one thing I'm going to touch up with Colin is that speed of the game. I'm going to bring up my speed to Colin because I used to burn Colin a couple times when we played against each other. A lot of people won't believe that because the guy is one of the best defensemen in Las Vegas right now. But speed is huge, especially overseas. And I touched on this with Zach Turquato and even Paul Maurice when I have him on the show in terms of experience coaching overseas. The game is different over there than it is in North America. And is speed still very dominant over there? Is the rough stuff put to the side much more than it is here in North America?
Yeah, when I was playing over in the top league in Switzerland, the transition speed of the game is very high end, and it's just high paced. And the last couple of years playing in Great Britain, it's been it's a rough game, but you're playing on the big ice, so you got to be able to skate. If you can skate, you're going to get around the D. You have a little bit more time to do things, but the game, it's kind of, the NHL is kind of changing into that. It's guys are faster and they're not as big as they once were. Yeah. Everything is as fast as you can. How fast can I get there? It's pretty amazing to watch this game of hockey now.
Definitely fascinating. I know you told me one time that you were friends with Mason Raymond. Who have spent time with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Calgary Flames as well in some time. And how about some connection with some current pro players? Do you have connections with some in terms of training with or keeping in touch with to get their secrets, or even guys you connect with overseas that play professional hockey and how they adapted?
Well, yeah, since I moved to the Soo, I've gotten to know, Trevor Daley and Colin Miller, and, the list goes on. Brett Finley, who's a lot younger than me, he's just moved over to, I think, Austria for next year in Bolzano, and he's going to do really well. He's got great hands, and there's a great group of guys skating over here. So I've kind of, since I moved here, I've become close with these guys, and we're always talking about what to do, what we're going to do for training, and it's exciting, and I'm really happy to be a part of the Soo.
Soo is very happy to have you a part of it as well. So a lot of good hockey players have come out of Sault Ste. Marie, and a lot of players that didn't make it as well. But definitely the Soo has been very criticized now for having not the same hockey development anymore. But we're not going to jump into that topic. There's not enough time to jump into that.
It'll get there. We'll get it back.
But we'll hopefully get it back to little hockey town, Ontario. But I want to jump into next year for you. As we were playing this round of golf, you and I, we had discussions about, where you're at for next year. Yeah. And I'm not going to say what we discussed, obviously. I'll let the floor to you in terms of what the status is for next year, your mindset into next year, and even your expectations for yourself for next year.
Yeah, I think, right now my mind is to play one more year for sure. And, we'll see how it goes. When you get to a certain age, no matter what coaches and GMs, they look at your age no matter what you did. It's not about what you did last year. It's like, well, how are you going to be this season? But, I ffeel just as good as I did, and I had an amazing year last year. So, we'll see. Right now, I'm just waiting on a few offers, and, I'm going to take it day by day before I make my decision. I'm not going to jump at something and just to go, but I'm hoping to go and play, and then be with Great Britain at the Worlds this coming year.
Well, for the three-peat in the April, wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be amazing.
And where's that played this year?
I think we're in Slovakia.
Yeah. And that runs after the season, obviously, which you're hoping to have another full season professionally. Do you have eyes out anywhere in particular that you want to go, or is it just the right fit for yourself?
Yeah, it's going to come down to, obviously, it's my last year. It's going to come down to, going to the right spot, the right amount of money. There's just all things that are going to come into play, for my final year. And, it's exciting because right now I don't know where I'm headed. So I definitely wanted to change from Braehead, so where I played last season, and I'm excited and nervous and where it's going to be.
Yeah. I think it'd be very exciting if you ended up going to where my roots are in Italy. Just a little thing. That'd be nice if you ended up there. A lot of good hockey there. And we had Matt Digassparo on last week, who's playing in Switzerland and playing with Plastino and some guys that you may know as well over in Switzerland. And you have experience playing there as well. Would that even be an option, revisiting Switzerland?
Yeah, it's tough. There's only 4 imports allowed in the Swiss A-League. I was fortunate enough to play 3 years, and I had a couple of really good seasons there. I was in the top of the for goals. But it's tough. Once you leave Switzerland, it's tough to get back into. Those are a couple of things, decisions I made to leave when maybe I should have just stayed, because it's a great league. The travel's amazing, the money's great, and the hockey's high speed. So but I wanted to travel also. Even though I love this sport, and it was about seeing the world, and that's why I moved around a lot, because I wanted to try new places. And there's a few times I had a couple teams come to me and want me back, but I wanted to move on because I wanted to experience the best there was in Europe.
And you get to travel, like you said. You get to see different things. Like myself, I haven't been out of North America. I'm planning this year to go to Italy to visit. So it's definitely amazing in Europe. Out of your place that you've played, I'm not telling you to pick your favorite team that you played for, but your favorite place of visit. I know maybe this was a little spoiler previously with Switzerland, but is there certain places you visited in Europe that you would recommend for one to visit, especially when it comes to hockey? If you're, let's say you were 10 years younger, okay, and would you do the same path that you did, or would there be kind of alterations? You don't have to state what alterations were, but would there be changes, or are you content with what path you led down?
Yeah, I think the path I took was the right one for me at the time, and I think Switzerland, like I said, it's beautiful. There's some amazing cities, Lausanne, Bern. Yep. Zurich. There's the cities, and they're all close. You can travel to them really, really easy. Yep. For the hockey side, that to me is my favorite. But for traveling with the family and everything, Rome, Italy is number one for me by far. That I was able to travel during one of the breaks. Yeah. There's a couple places for you.
Oh, I like the option of that. I'm hoping to end up in Rome at the end of this year. So that'd be awesome. So now, Brooksy, just a little bit longer here. We have him on the show. So, I got to touch on in terms of the type of player that you feel that you are. Like what you... I don't want you to sell. You don't need to sell yourself. Your numbers state that already as it is. But the type of player that you are, that you can explain to our listeners, what Brendan Brooks is about, people that might not know about you. I've had the luck to play with you in a 3-on-3 tournament. I like bringing that up every time we discuss. We won that 3 times, a couple times. And it all started with Jody Wilson just connecting us on through text, and now you build a friendship. Now we play golf today, and I absolutely embarrassed myself, but we had fun out there. We sit here with your brother-in-law and your father, and you and your father had a good little bet going on today as well. You ended up coming on top of that, but I gotta say he gave you a good run for your money. But people that don't know Brandon Brooks, even off the ice as well, what can they expect, or what can they know of you?
For me, on the hockey side of things, I like to play tough for a smaller guy. I've always been hard-nosed, but speed and shooting. Those are my two assets that I've always had. And I'm not small, but the grit that I have, I think that's something that I've always been passionate about. It doesn't matter how big you are, I'm going in that corner, I'm going to come out with that puck. So it's always the mentality I've had. That's the type of player that I would say I am.
I couldn't agree more. 100%, and definitely it's your era type of game, especially overseas where you really flourished, and you obviously had a great year there. So just a couple more things. Like I said, I want to jump into the NHL offseason a little bit with you. I like getting some individual reactions when it comes to the offseason. I'm sure you've followed as much as you could. You're trying to enjoy family time. You have twins at home. They're growing and they're getting bigger each day, I'm sure, and they're keeping you busy. But in terms of the NHL offseason, is there anything that you want to discuss with the NHL offseason, that has surprised you or has wowed you, or give credit or even give thumbs down anywhere?
Yeah, well, for me, obviously, the first move for Kyle Dubas.
Absolutely.
To get a guy or a player like Tavares is pretty amazing. He's one of the best there is in the NHL, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do in Toronto. I can't wait to see him in the blue and white.
He's going to be top notch, I think, especially now. Everyone says that guy should have a C on his jersey right now. Now, you being a professional player, being in a locker room, you've been a part of teams for years. Somebody to come in and be a C, I think, would be very, let's say, put a lot of pressure on him right away. Someone like John can handle that, obviously.
Yeah.
But in terms of you being a player, would that be a wise move by Toronto if they went down that path? They give him a C right away? Or do they maintain the course and maybe give it to Austin Matthews when the time is right?
Yeah, you know, I think didn't they? I'm pretty sure they went the whole season without a C, did they?
For
not?
2 years,
Yeah,
3 years
so,
now.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
2 years.
you know, I mean, I think Tavares is the type of guy that could take it over and be fine with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've invested in a guy like Austin Matthews, who's going to be a superstar and already is.
Yeah.
You know, if he stays healthy, he's gonna be up there with the best of them. So you know, anything can happen. You know, that's going to be up to Babcock. And I was fortunate enough to play for him in 2006 when I was with the Red Wings. I was up for the playoffs there, so you know, I got to know him a little bit. You know, I think what he's doing is the right move, because that's something you don't want to rush into, is just pick a guy to lead this team. And right now you have probably 4 or 5 leaders that are taking charge.
Yeah, you do. Marlowe
and
as
it's
well.
not a bad thing. You know, what a great year they had. I thought they had a great season, and I think this upcoming season could be even better.
Good little fun chat with NHL. It can't always, put you on this pressure about yourself. You've been blushing since you've been here. No, I'm just kidding. You're no stranger to the show, Brooksy, and you know what? Do we have an expectation or a date that we'll know when Brooks is signing somewhere, or is that a day-by-day thing?
Definitely right now it's day by day. You know, it could be a week, could be a month. I'm not really sure, what's going to happen. Like I said, I'm waiting it out, and if I do end up going back to play, it'll be on my terms and a spot that I want to go to.
The best fit for yourself, obviously. And Brendan, the last thing I want to get to before we let you go, okay, and it's not about today's golf game, because I think we're going to end with that. With me, you said 58 I got today? I think you're being generous. You might be being
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit generous. I always ask one personal question to one of my guests now that will throw them off guard, okay? And just so the listeners can get a little chuckle out of it. If I go onto your phone right now, pull up your music, what last song will I hear that you played, either on the way here or last song? And if it's Barbie Girl by Aqua, you got to say that it is that.
You know what? I can tell you right now what it was.
Oh, pull it up on the phone.
What? I'm going to pull it up real quick because...
Pull it up on the phone. Oh, he's got the Shazam too?
Yeah, because it was the last one I listened to, because I was like, oh, pretty good song.
Pretty good tune. I like that. He's actually pulling out. The first one to officially pull it out.
It was Praying by Kesha.
Oh, okay.
That's what I have on there.
You can tell he's being honest because he said Kesha.
Yeah,
I like that.
True.
Now,
should listen to it.
Okay. I'll listen to it on the way. I actually haven't heard it yet, so I'm not going to judge. So now am I able to ever golf with you again? Am I in that league to be able to ever golf with you again, you think, or have I worn out that welcome?
If you meet me on the 15th hole, I'll be okay with it.
Fun as always, Brooksy. I'll let you go. We're going to enjoy some wings here. I appreciate you stopping by the Game Sports Show, and when you get your contract or your situation all settled up before you depart or before any decisions made, we'll definitely get you on to get some reaction with that and get some news about that. So if we can get you on again before you leave, that'd be awesome, and we appreciate you stopping by.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. There's Brandon Brooks. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring in Colin Miller, defenseman of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, when we return here on the Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
Hi, I'm Brendan Brooks, professional hockey player. You're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McKeag, here live on location at Silver Creek Golf Course. It's just going to be myself here for this special guest interview portion. And we have a very special guest, somebody who's absolutely no stranger to the Game Sports Show, and also no stranger to myself. I'm sure he can share some funny words about myself to you, off air, of course. The one, the only, Colin Miller. How you doing, pal?
Good. How are you?
Good. I try to give you a little bit more of a looser, fun introduction there.
No, it's well done.
So how's everything going, Colin? How's your off season? We're going to jump into more things, obviously, as we go, but tell everyone here how your off season is going and what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's been nice. Got home about a month ago here, so just been relaxing up at the lake here. It's nice to kind of have some quiet time here after such a busy season, and there was a lot going on there. There wasn't chaos, so it was nice to. It's always nice to come home here and just relax and unwind as best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we had Digaspparo on this past week on the Boston Pizza edition of the show, and he gave some comments towards you, some good ones. He wasn't chirping, usually how Dags would do, but he was saying how when he was working out with you, or when he works out, I guess you wear a bandana. Is that true? You used to wear a bandana?
Yeah, my hair was a little longer there when I first got home, so the hat wasn't quite doing it, keeping it out of the way, so I had a little something rigged up there, but that was I thought that'd be kept in the gym, but I guess not.
No, he shared that funny thing right on air. He gave you just a little jab because we were talking about your contract extension. He was giving you a shout out for all the hard work that you're doing, and we'll get to your extension just a little bit. But you've been doing a lot of things this summer in terms of some community involvement, especially with the Driven Hockey Development Camp. Yourself, Brett Finley, who we will have on the show in the next couple weeks, Brian Russ being there, DiPietro being there as well, and obviously Sandra Finley being there as well with that. Can you give the listeners here a little bit of background on that hockey camp and how that went?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, Don DeLuca was the front runner there, him and Paulie, Pietro running it, but they've had this for a while now, and it's always fun, to get out there and kind of mix it up with some of the young local talent, coming up. I mean, you hear about, a lot of kids when you're away and how the hockey's going in the Soo and stuff like that, but it's fun to get home and get out there on the ice with some of the kids and just kind of put my face, in front of them and guys like Dustin and Finner, like you said. I mean, they're guys that have done well in hockey, and for younger kids to see that it's it's not that far off, but it's always fun.
Yeah, it's always a good time to get back to the community, and the sports show, the game here has been giving to Northern Quitters in Need a Big Brother, Big Sister with their shirts. For $25, you can purchase those shirts. I must put that plug in there quickly. But it's just to test to what you said there, that it all matters giving back to the community of Sault Ste. Marie, and obviously with yourself being a role model to many of the youth hockey and many individuals here in Sault Ste. Marie that are avid hockey fans especially, and definitely have been following your successful year that just happened, and to be into the community yourself, Finner and Rust, and that giving back definitely gives the kids a little bit more urge to go to those camps too. And the reason why I state that is because the last couple of years, according to a lot of reaction from the media, hockey has kind of descended, is a good way to say, in Sault Ste. Marie, and people are saying that it's not the same that what it used to be. And you know what, maybe that is true, maybe that is not true, but for individuals like yourself to come on and go to those camps, it entices those kids to go on the ice, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and there's so many good hockey guys in the Soo, like Don there does, an amazing job with the kids, and he really takes the time, to go out there and make sure that, the effort's in there, and he's passionate. He's passionate about the game, like a lot of, hockey names in the Soo. So, Jeff Toms and Mike Colin, and, guys like that I know, more. I'm sure there's so many more in this city, but, guys that are passionate about the game and they're passionate about, kind of, showing that that next wave of kids, that about the game and this and that. So it's always fun. It's always fun to get back out there and see the young faces and stuff like that.
No, absolutely. It's definitely good to see nothing beats seeing a kid that looks up to your role model and just smiles. I bet you just an absolute awe to see yourself and Russ and all that. So, and speaking of yourself, we'll jump right into, you had a very successful season, Colin. You're on the show a couple times this year. We talked at, I believe it was, producer Ghost is going to have to tell me the date. If he doesn't, that's fine. But we were on the show twice this year, and the one time was right after the deadline where we were talking playoff implications. And even before that, it was last summer. There we go. So it was last summer that I actually had you on the show before the season started. And then we were talking then about what to expect from your team and what to expect from yourself. And I remember you saying that I'm just going to go out there and do what I have to do. And this year, the year went on, kept in touch. This season was going great. You're having an amazing season, obviously. And then we talk right after the trade deadline, and you end up talking about the playoffs right now. Now, I think and we said this back at that time too, that maybe we wouldn't have been able to say that at the beginning of the year because we weren't going to know how the team was going to be. You always had faith in what the roster was, and as the season went on, you surprised a lot of people. Like the team, has surprised a lot of people, not just yourself, because everyone knew the talent that you had. But then this year, you end the season, you led the team in points defensively. And I know it isn't all about the individualism, but for yourself to play White Pines, then you go play for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, then you get drafted by LA, and then you move on to Boston, and then you get drafted by the Knights, and you have all that kind of happen, a lot of different transitions, and you finally get your fit in Vegas. You had just a superb season. So this year you get rewarded in the off season with a 4-year, $15.5 million contract from Vegas. You're only 25. You're still extremely young, I'd like to say, or we're young, I guess, because we're basically the same age. We'll talk. I'm going to talk about your contract right now before we continue talking about that magnificent playoff run that you guys had, getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. I know it's still probably fresh in your mind what happened, but just about your contract and about your season. How do you feel about this season yourself, like when you look back at it? And how do you feel about re-signing with Vegas, and what are you looking forward to?
The season was obviously, something that I don't think anyone, ever expected, and definitely myself wasn't, something that you can kind of expect. So it was an incredible experience. I mean, to go to Vegas and, to never have actually been to Vegas, you go on with a lot of unknowns, and you go with a lot of unknowns about, the guys that are going to be on the team, and the culture of the team, and how things are going to be run, and things went great. I mean, obviously, from everything that happened, it was heartbreaking way to end the season. But I think, looking back now, we're very proud of what we did, and I think, the Vegas as a city is very proud of their team. So I don't know. There's so many things, that go into that season. Our coaches, did a great job of, keeping every guy confident and making sure that we were just going out there and playing. And I think for a lot of guys, that hadn't had that opportunity before, it was just about whether, they were going to be able to take advantage of it, or if we were going to, kind of sink or swim. It was one or the other, and that's a lot of the times how these expansion teams go. Guys are getting opportunities, and sometimes guys are able to handle it, and sometimes they're not. So a lot of guys did a great job of proving themselves, and I think that's what made the difference with our team this year. So it was a great thing to build on, but like I said, it was a tough way to end it.
No, absolutely it was. And we're going to jump that just a few seconds. This year you had 10 goals, 31 assists, 41 points, 53 penalty minutes. I guess you wanted to go in the box a little bit, Millsy? And I must say, even the playoffs, you had 20 games, played 3 goals, 4 assists. You got 7 points. You even got, I must say, that you got the first Stanley Cup final goal in your team's history, to start this year, obviously, and it was great for the Sioux to see that. I remember the social media reaction here in Sault Ste. Marie. I bet you can imagine because of how the Sioux is, but that is a tremendous feat in itself. And you said it just a few moments ago, with a lot of guys who I guess I can say got second chances. You know, like I'm not saying you because you played some time in Boston. You know, you didn't have any kind of really slides in your career. You had a long road to get there in terms of hard work and everything. But you know, you had some guys who got that second chance to come prove themselves. And one goalie who sticks out in mind to me is not just the Flower, but Malcolm Subban that had some time with you guys as well this year. That was, as soon as he started off in Boston, was crossed off the list after his first start. So, you know, there's a lot of guys who came up, and actually when they had the chance to play, they ended up, you know, doing a good job at showing that they're worthwhile. And this year you guys had some off-season changes with Neil and Perron moving on, but you guys brought in Stastny. So you guys are also, you know, rumored to be reaching out to Erik Karlsson, but we don't have to jump into those kind of rumors. So Vegas has definitely done a very good, you know, job in terms of, you know, giving those guys a chance. And as Karlsson has to be the guy that sticks out the most, obviously, in that kind of realm. But before we jump into those guys that moved on and on, the playoff run this year was just amazing. You know, a lot of people, like you're saying, we're going to say, when is Vegas going to drop off the map? When are they going to start to lose? Or when, a lot of doubts, right? And you guys end up, you know, having this tremendous year, break all the records when it comes to expansion franchises and points, wins, and all that. You guys go to the playoffs. You guys kill it. You guys make it to the Cup Finals against a very just as hungry Washington Capitals team, and ultimately end up losing the series, which, you know, is very heartbreaking. I was pulling for you because that would have been awesome for you to bring that Stanley Cup back home. But, you know, you showed, you know, the hockey world that you guys are for real, and that you guys are also going to have a high chance of being in the same spot next year. Tell us how it was to play in the Stanley Cup Finals, like how that really felt, and just the emotion, the energy. It must be so much different than a regular season game, obviously.
Yeah, it's you know, the finals are different than anything I've ever experienced. I mean, it's everything's so heightened and everything's so magnified. You know, I mean, at that time of the year, there's not a lot of hockey going on besides you know, the two teams that are playing. So I mean, all eyes are on you, and everything's heightened, but it makes it fun. I think you just got to take it in stride, and you just got to, you know, and try to enjoy the moment as best you can, but also realize that you know, these moments aren't going to come very often in someone's career. So yeah. You know, obviously we tried to take advantage of it as best we can. We fell a little short, which was really tough, you know, looking back, like I said. But yeah, I mean, for Vegas to have, I think, that experience, and I think, you know, even for the league, I mean, it was kind of just such a crazy thing that it was just yeah, I mean, everyone was taking it in stride and just, you know, trying to make the best of it. No,
it definitely was. Absolutely. It's kind of seeing everyone have fun play the game, and much like yourself, Karlsson, those guys, and one guy that was having a blast, I think, in the whole playoffs, especially, was Marc-Andre Fleury. I've never seen somebody who you know, when he played in Pittsburgh last year and got kind of put to the back seat after Murray returned from injury, then Flower, you know, was exposed to the draft and got drafted by you guys, and this year he even said on the media it's the funnest he's ever played hockey. And I remember when he he did Blake Wheeler's ear, you know, and laughing about it after, and he also just re-signed a 3-year contract extension with you guys. So Paul Stastny joined you guys. Are you excited about some of the moves that they made this offseason, and about some of the guys like James Neal and David Perron? How about what's the alteration in the locker room that's going to occur with those guys leaving?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's always tough to replace guys, and I mean, it's a business, so I think we expected, you know, that there was going to be some changes to this year, but it's hard to see him go. I mean, Naylor was a huge part of our team. I mean, he's, you know, a guy that had been to the finals obviously before, and I know he kind of had that big game, you know, play about him. I mean, that's just kind of what he's had is most of his career now. So it's tough to lose guys like that. But like you said, I mean, we did a good job of, I think, you know, trying to fill the holes as best we can. Having Stastny come in, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about him, and I mean, he's proven himself in the league for a long time. So it'll be great. I think that's a huge acquisition for us up front. Something that's definitely going to help us. I think with the stability down the middle is something that, you know, is so important in this league now. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be fun to get back to camp and, you know, see the guys. You know, like been about a week since I've left Vegas, so I don't think we'll be needing too much time to catch up. But yeah, it'll be great to get back and kind of see the changes and get it going again.
No, absolutely. Just about 2 or 3 more things quick, Colin, before I let you go, because we got time limits on shows. It's too bad that we can't just talk for hours and hours, even though I know you're busy. You probably wouldn't want to talk for hours and hours. I could talk for hours and hours. But just with going back to camp, obviously the hockey development camps have been going on for the rookies just now, obviously. But when do you go? When are you required to go back to Vegas?
I'm not sure. I mean, I gotta obviously, there's always your weddings and stuff like that you're doing in the summer. So I mean, everyone's got their different schedules. But normally the beginning of September, we head back. Camp doesn't start till about the middle of September. But it's always good to get back there a couple weeks early and get those good skates in before camp and all that stuff. So I'll probably head back beginning of September, and then that's about it. Then you're right back into the swing of things. So. It's a short off season, but it's a much needed one with kind of just mentally getting away from it for a bit and just relaxing.
No, absolutely. Now, 2 more things. We're expecting a big year from you guys again as well. Very excited to watch you try to duplicate your success. But one thing I saw on social media, these are going to be 2 kind of funny topics, okay, that I know you're going to laugh at the last one the most, I think. But, social media shows a lot of things, and like Spittin' Chicklets, Barstool, you have TSN, Sportsnet, you have all those different news outlets. But there's one that I saw of you when you guys were warming up. I know every other team has their own warm-up routine and does everything. You and I believe it was Nate Schmidt. I don't know if you were tagged in that or saw that or noticed it, but you guys had a little handshake going on, or you guys are doing a little fun thing while warming up and enjoying it. And that's what touches on with your team was having so much fun, and I think that's why you guys were successful, not just because of the talent. You guys, the chemistry in that locker room is just off the charts, it seems. And but to my question, do you have a lot of you guys have a lot of things you have to do while you're on the ice? Do you have a little, I guess you say, superstitions that you have to do with certain guys, or is that just a thing that just happened?
I don't know. Let's see. I think in the finals and in the playoffs and as the games get more important, the stupid stuff like that kind of keeps you loose is always stuff that seems to help. Just keep you loose and stuff like that. And we seem to have a lot of guys in that room that were pretty good about keeping it loose. You said Fleury Flower there earlier. He's always having fun, and I think when you kind of look back there at a goalie like that who's done so well and he's able to find a good balance, I think that's good. I mean, I don't think anybody plays their best when they're completely uptight. So to have a guy like that, and Nate's the same way, very loose and tries to have fun with it. It's good. It's a good mix to have. So it's always good to keep it light, and I think our team does a good job of that.
Oh, I definitely see that. Now, the funny thing, the last thing that we'll touch on before I let you go, a lot of people forget, I think, and I like to bring this up a lot because it's kind of what I like to talk about. Brad Cochmelio brings it up, who's one of our analysts on the show, Justin, and Scott Nason, one of the co-hosts of the show as well, always brings up kind of the days when I played in terms of experiences with coaching and playing. And I always say that one of the best guys I've played with or against was yourself, obviously, and I think that goes without saying. But now, a lot of people kind of forget, obviously, that yours truly right here did play, because the many years has passed since that. People obviously don't forget that you're playing. So I had a lot of people ask me, okay, like a lot of listeners who kind of been teasing that you were coming on the show today, so had a lot of reaction in terms of looking up that you and I, how it would be in a game of one-on-one. Now, I'm going to say flat out, I remember 3-on-3 one time skating down the side with you. Kager, do not shoot it at my legs. I remember some times when we worked out with Colin, I tried to keep up with you and I threw up. I'm just going to say it flat out and simple and gross like that. Now, people would love one day
I don't know when this can ever happen, but it'd be cool for if we ever have ice. I know you don't skate much. I try not to skate much in the summer either because I play a lot of men's league, which is high class, I guess, in the Soo. But, you know, how people would do, or how people think how I would do against you in a one-on-one is what they think. And let's just say 95% of people, okay, actually it was 98, but 98% of people said that I would not even come close to getting around you. I don't know who the 2% was that said that I would. I bet you it's probably my mother. maybe Nanny. Maybe if you chimed in, or Finner might have, if they chimed in and said a little something. But you know, it'd be nice to get on the ice and skate around with you again sometime. But you know what? Just a little fun. How do you think I would do in a game one-on-one against you?
I don't know. It's been a lot of years since I've strapped them up against you. So I remember some days against playing against you in Pine River, and you know, you had the speed wide, so you never know. It would be fun to get back out there on the ice, and yeah, I think we'll have to do that for sure at some point.
Oh, that'd be fun. I know. I think I still got that speed, my man, but the legs are. It isn't the same anymore. That old saying, you know, when you get older, it gets worse. And we're still young, but like I'm not in the same kind of shape as much as I used to be playing. But it would definitely be fun, and I thought I'd definitely share that because you know, it's fun that, you know, that we played against each other. You know, there's times that we played some shinny together or against each other as well. A 3-on-3 was always a fun time against you, even though that was a charity tournament. You know, it's definitely great to see the success that you've had, man, for really speaking. And the contract that you just signed, Millsy, was fantastic. Obviously, I'm not saying dollars-wise, that's pretty as itself, but no, just well-deserved. And Vegas, I think, definitely has a top defenseman in yourself, and I want to say that, you know, throughout the year we'll get you on when we can, like we obviously try to do all the time. And I want to wish you, you know, a good rest of your summer, and good luck going into next season, friend.
Okay, thanks, Kerry. Good to hear from you. Take care.
Take care. We're going to take a quick break here on the Game Sports Show. When we come back, the fellas and I got some more hockey talk, so don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Check out our brand new website up and running now at thegamesportshow.com. There you can find past broadcasts of all our shows from the Wicked Sister in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and Boston Pizza and Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. As well, you can find our brand new t-shirts available for just $25 a shirt. All sizes are available, and proceeds will go towards Northern Critters in Need and Big Brother, Big Sister of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now you can purchase the shirt by emailing thegamesportshowssm@gmail.com. Please state the total amount of shirts and size needed. They have payment options available, e-transfer, or cash upon delivery, as a shirt can be delivered to your location if you live in the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and Ontario area, free of charge. TheGameSportsShow.com, where you find all your local, regional, and national sports that you just can't get enough of.
Hi, this is Paul Maurice from the Winnipeg Jets, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McKeag. I want to say thanks to both Brendan Brooks and Colin Miller for taking time out of their busy schedules to come on by the game here today. It's always appreciated when they do stop by, and we wish you the best of luck going into the upcoming season. And we'll definitely get you both on very, very soon, as you are obviously no strangers to the Game Sports Show. I also want to say thanks to both Brad and Justin, as they were here on the top of the show. However, for this conclusion portion, it's just going to be yours truly, as I let Brad and Justin go on some vacation time for the remainder of the show. So, as I just mentioned, it's just going to be yours truly in this conclusion portion of the Game Sports Show. And in this conclusion portion, we're going to dive right into the trivia question. We're going to talk a little bit of golf, and we're also going to discuss Major League Baseball, especially in the world of trades, and the Toronto Blue Jays before we conclude today's special combined edition of the show, the Silver Creek edition and Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie edition combined all into one. And what an action-packed show it has been. And I must give a shout-out to Scott Neeson, our board op tonight, who's done a fantastic job as always, and of course to the listeners for making us a part of your day as well. But without further ado, we're going to jump right in here to the trivia question. If you all recall the previous trivia question that was on the first Silver Creek edition of the Game Sports Show, the question that we asked for a chance to win a free round of golf courtesy of Silver Creek Golf Course, the question was, what was Greyhounds' new coach John Dean's record with the Toronto Patriots this past season? And the winner that sent the email to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, winner, Mark Digaspparo. Mark Digaspparo has answered the trivia question correctly, and the answer was 48-3-3 was the record that John had with the Toronto Patriots. And congratulations to Mark Digaspparo for winning a free round of golf courtesy of Silver Creek Golf Course and the Game Sports Show, as that is the first Silver Creek edition winner of the trivia question. And make sure when we have the trivia question, you listen to the question, write down the question, do your research, or simply just answer the question based on using your knowledge of sport or reading particular articles that may be released online. And you can submit your answer to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, for your chance to win a free round of golf courtesy of Silver Creek Golf Course. Again, the winner, Mark Digaspparo, and congratulations to him on winning that. Now, getting to the question for this week's edition of the Silver Creek Golf Course edition of the Game Sports Show, in this combined edition, I must say. This week's question for your chance to win a free round of golf: what was the Sioux Thunderbirds' best season record? In this answer, you must submit to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, the record of the Sioux Thunderbirds' best season, along with the points, obviously, at the end. And for bonus, for your chance to win a bonus prize, copy and paste the roster that was Creek Golf Course. What was the best season record for the Sioux Thunderbirds? With this answer, when you submit it to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, you must submit the record, the points, and the year that the season was for the Sioux Thunderbirds' best franchise. And for bonus, if you submit the roster that was iced for that Sioux Thunderbirds team, you will be in for a chance to win an additional prize as well. So to repeat the question, to submit to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, for your chance to win a free round of golf courtesy of Silver Creek Golf Course and the Game Sports Show, what was the best season for the Sioux Thunderbirds? And you must answer with the record, the points, and the year that that team was iced. And for bonus points, copy and paste the roster that was iced that year for the Sioux Thunderbirds. Hey, a lot of good years with that Thunderbirds team. Was it the team that I was a part of? Was it the team that was before I was a part of? Was it back when they went to the RBC? Was it back to they had a couple Dudley Hewitt appearances? Was it the year that they hosted the Dudley? There's a lot of good years the Sioux Thunderbirds had, and very curious to see how many answers come in here on the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, and make sure you submit your answer, as you know what, winning a nice free round of golf courtesy of Silver Creek Golf Course for answering a question, especially on behalf of the local Sioux Thunderbirds. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So again, that is submit the best record, also submit the points along with the year, and for additional points, ensure to copy and paste the roster that was iced that season for the Thunderbirds. Moving on, we're going to go into the world of golf right now, and I got to give a shout out to Dustin Johnson for winning the Canadian Open. And you know, everyone who does not know who Dustin Johnson is, well, he's the one who's married to Paulina Gretzky. And you know what? The story that I saw online that was invading that golf world before the Open was when he put on that Wayne Gretzky jersey. That is absolutely beautiful. I loved that. I thought that was awesome, as Wayne Gretzky being the greatest hockey player of all time, and for Dustin Johnson to be in that family, for him to put on that jersey, that is fantastic. And for him now to go to Toronto and to win the Canadian Open this weekend, definitely congratulations to Dustin Johnson. As Dustin Johnson, shot a 6-under, and, he had a very, very productive weekend and was pretty consistent for the entire weekend. And Dustin Johnson has shown his superiority in the world of golf and arguably may be one of the best golfers in the world right now. And as I just mentioned a few moments ago, was definitely deserving of winning the Canadian Open. And wow, again, the score that Dustin Johnson had this weekend was 6 under 66 to finish the only Canadian stop on the PGA Tour at 23 under par. Amazing for sure. Congratulations to Dustin Johnson on winning that. And I must give a shout out to something locally with the Sioux City Championships, as Mike Moraca has won the Sioux City Championships, as Jamie Henderson has posted on Facebook, and he's been amazing. Has Jamie Henderson been with the coverage of the Sioux City Golf Championships? Very competitive weekend that was coursed at Silver Creek Golf Course, the Country Club, and also Crimson Ridge here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Great weekend of golf locally, and Mike Moraca has won that. So congratulations to Mike on winning this year's Sioux City Golf Championships. Now, moving on from the world of golf, we're going to go into baseball here quickly before we wrap up tonight's special combined edition of the Game Sports Show between Silver Creek Golf Course and Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. And baseball, it's been busy. It's been full of rumors. It's been full of trades. And it's been, let's just say, the usual suspects that we predicted to be active in the trade front getting more loaded. That being the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the Milwaukee Brewers, if you want to consider them there as well. Even the Houston Astros diving into getting some trades done. But even the Braves throwing their name into the hat, getting some trades, and the Chicago Cubs landing a pretty nice pitcher themselves. And we're going to get to the players that were moved here right now. And the one that I'm going to start off with is with the Boston Red Sox acquiring right-handed pitcher Nathan Eovaldi from the Tampa Bay Rays. Nathan is a good pitcher in the rotation for the Sox. Will solidify that rotation for a team that is already pretty strong in their pitching, especially led by Chris Sale, who's a strong left-handed reliever. You know what? And the Boston Red Sox pitching is absolutely scary, and their lineup is absolutely scary, especially with J.D. Martinez hitting the ball the way it is. I think that was a great smart move and not too much of a high-risk move for in terms of moving all prospects. I think the Red Sox, they moved a left-handed pitcher, Jalen Beeks prospect, to the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Red Sox getting the pitcher that they wanted near the end of their rotation. Some other moves that moved on. Zach Britton from the Baltimore Orioles, keeping it within the division, it seems. The Baltimore Orioles, after earlier in the week moving Manny Machado to the Dodgers, they have moved their strong left-handed reliever Zach Britton to the already powerful New York Yankees for a couple right-handed prospects and a left-handed prospect. The Orioles are loading up on prospects in terms of these moves with Machado and Britton. And it really seems that the Orioles had a year that maybe people predicted would have been a little bit better, but I want to say it's almost been an embarrassing year for the Orioles. And them moving Zach Britton to the New York Yankees, the Yankees are bolstering that bullpen. You have a bullpen already featured with Aroldis Chapman, Dylan Betances, David Robinson. This is the most feared bullpen in the major leagues. And when it comes to playoff time, when you have pitchers that the Yankees do, especially because they did acquire one of the Blue Jays left-handed relievers that we're going to get to in just a few moments, they have a strong pitching rotation. I don't think it's as strong as the Red Sox or the Cubs or even really the Astros, but their bullpen is the strongest bullpen in the AL, in my opinion. And when it comes to playoff time, when you're in that fifth inning at the starters and a little bit of a jam, you have a lot of options that the Yankees do. You can put Zach Britton in, you can put Robinson in, you can put Chapman, you can put Betances in. You got four literal powerful arms that have the capability of saving a ball game or just simply closing a ball game in general. Now, other moves that have occurred, the Athletics getting a little bit fancy with acquiring Jerry's Familia, and also the Cubs getting right-hand reliever Jesse Chavez from the Texas Rangers as well. And sticking to the kind of World Series contenders here, you must stick with the Chicago Cubs going after Texas Rangers lefty starter Cole Hamels. I love this trade. I think this trade is absolutely amazing for the Cubs. They have Yu Darvish, who's been out with an injury, and it definitely kind of solidifies that rotation. Already went with John Lester and Cole Hamels. Imagine a couple years ago if the Cubs had Hamels and Lester just in the same rotation, they would have been multiple championships by now. But Cole Hamels, who's had a little bit of a rough year, but even though playing for the Texas Rangers, given he'll be in a better spot with the Chicago Cubs, where he will have the opportunity to bounce back this year, and he has good pitching cast with Hendricks being there as well and Quintina. And I must say that the Cubs are looking very good, especially in terms of the starting rotation, and their bullpen has been pretty strong as well. From the front of the Milwaukee Brewers, Joakim Serra going from the White Sox to the Brewers for a couple pitching prospects as well. It just seems like a lot of prospects are being thrown around with this trade deadline, and the most busiest, everyone believes that it might be the New York Yankees, but you know what? I really think the Milwaukee Brewers are the busiest. I sincerely do. And because of another big trade that just happened yesterday, the Milwaukee Brewers, July the 28th, made a trade with the Kansas City Royals, acquiring Mike Moraca at third base. The Brewers, wanting that third baseman, they went the area of the Mike Moraca. I kind of wish they would have went after Josh Donaldson to get him from the Toronto Blue Jays. As you know, sorry to say as Blue Jays fans, but Josh Donaldson will be walking, despite that a lot of people are saying, Dave, Josh Donaldson is hurt. They won't get enough for him. When the guy's healthy, he's one of the best, if not the best, third basemen in baseball right now. I still believe that he is. That arm, when he is healthy, is a cannon. His athleticism, his passion, but that's the key thing when he is healthy. And right now, you're right. He's on 100%, but I feel he will be healthy by playoff time. And I would be very surprised if someone didn't try to make a move for him. But, the Brewers went the safe route with going with a healthy Mike Moraca, as the Brewers are looking to contend in the NL. And the Kansas City Royals, who were long gone just even a couple weeks into the season, people had them written off, and they acquire some prospects and move out the contract of Mike Moraca. Now, when it comes to making trades in baseball, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to baseball. There's a trade deadline, but then there's the no waiver deadline, and a lot of things go on in the world of trades. So make sure you keep an eye and update. You can look at MLB.com to get the full explanation, as here on the Game Sports Show, I can go into that explanation, but I might lose people in terms of simply confusing you with how the rules are with that. But just remember that trades do happen going into the month of August for baseball. And today, the Atlanta Braves acquired the right-handed reliever Brad Beck from the Baltimore Orioles for international bonus pool money. And the Braves getting into that selling team of the Baltimore Orioles. The Braves are looking pretty good. They're looking pretty solid this year. A lot of young guys, and the rotation has been playing very well as well. And now they've solidified some strength in that bullpen with Brad Beck, who was a setup guy for Zach Britton for the last couple of years. Definitely a good individual to add to your bullpen for the season. Now, one trade for the Toronto fans that we would really have to discuss here is J.A. Happ. Left-handed starter J.A. Happ, who is in the last year of his contract, whom I will admit when he signed his contract, I was surprised that he was brought back, but I'm happy that the Blue Jays did bring him back, as he had a great second stint with the Toronto Blue Jays, and now he's getting a chance to go win a World Series with a team that is more than capable of winning that World Series with a strong rotation, strong bullpen, and a strong lineup, and a very eager young manager who has the toughest decision is where to put Aaron Judge in the order in comparison to Giancarlo Stanton right now because of how good that lineup is playing. And J.A. Happ was very kind in his farewell words to Toronto. He was thankful for the opportunity that Toronto has given him and coming back for a second time, and the success that he's had there for some couple good playoff runs. And I got to say thank you to J.A. Happ, as the Blue Jays did move J.A. Happ to the New York Yankees for Brendan Drury and outfielder prospect Billy McKinney. And you know what? The Blue Jays had to bring in a depth guy. They have a lot of depth guys with Diaz, with Lourdes Gurriel, with Drury being there, and Solarte. A lot of everyday guys. That lineup is pretty, let's say, anybody can go in at any time. But the Blue Jays had to move an unrestricted free agent in J.A. Happ so they can get some value for him, and they have done so, and they've, I believe, acquired a pretty good roster-ready player in Brandon Drury, and a pretty good level prospect with Billy McKinney, as the Yankees are going for it all with the way they have bought in Happ, the way they have bought in Zach Britton. They are definitely showing that they want to come out of the AL this year and not lose in the ALCS this year like they did last year to the eventual champion Houston Astros. And speaking of those Astros, they acquired Martin Malandario from the Angels for international bonus pool money and left-handed relieving prospect Patrick Sandoval. So a lot of big trades in the major league, especially when it comes to Cole Hamels going to the Cubs, Happ going to the Yankees, Eduardo Escobar going over to the Diamondbacks from the Twins as well. And you also have Moustakas going to the Brewers, Zach Britton going to the Yankees. Definitely a lot of expected moves with certain teams that are in that buying mode, and not surprised, as I said, on the top of going into the baseball topics here. It is a season that a lot of people expected, with the Yankees and Red Sox and Astros being the top of the AL. I think a surprising team that definitely may have thrown some individuals off are the Atlanta Braves, doing as well as they are, but you know what? They definitely deserve it. They have a good ball team, and I'm actually really pulling for both the Cubs and Brewers to make some big noise in the playoffs. I like what the Brewers are bringing to the field day in and day out, and I do have a soft spot for the Cubs, I must say. When the Blue Jays aren't in the playoffs, I'm pulling for those Cubs to get to the World Series and win. And it was great to see them win in 2016. Hopefully they can get back there this year. But I got to say that AL is looking extremely strong, especially with the rotation and bullpen of the Yankees and with the Red Sox, and obviously those Astros being tough. But it's very, very difficult to see what team can win. I cannot put my finger on it, but if I had to give you an early World Series prediction, I think it's going to be the Cubs and the Yankees in the finals. I'm not going to give a prediction right now because that's not the topic that I was supposed to get into, but I'm going to say if I had to give an early prediction for the World Series, once again, I'll say the Cubs and Yankees, I believe, will be in the finals, and it'll be a very exciting World Series, in fact, of that. Now, individuals that weren't traded, Jake DeGrom and Madison Bumgarner, look at this year, explosive numbers. 1.71 ERA with Jacob DeGrom, 3.19 with Madison Bumgarner, 5-5 for DeGrom, 3-3 for Bumgarner. K's 159 for DeGrom, 46 for Bumgarner. DeGrom's a right-handed pitcher, Madison's a left-handed. Both players are franchise players, and definitely would take a lot to get those individuals traded. And you got to think there's a lot of teams that were in on that front to trade for one of those pitchers. You got to think of the Yankees, you got to think of the Brewers, the Astros, or potentially even the Red Sox if they just want to bolster that starting rotation even more. But they will not be getting traded, it seems like, and definitely rumors are sticking to that those individuals will be staying the remainder of their season with their respective teams. Bumgarner with the Giants and DeGrom with the Mets. Now, the Toronto Blue Jays has come off a fairly successful weekend here against the Chicago White Sox, as the Blue Jays won today 7-4, improving their record to 48-56. The White Sox going down to 37-68 on the season. When it comes to the Blue Jays this year, we had so much hope at the beginning of the year for this team to be a potential wild card team, but you know what? That has not come out to be the case. It seems that the demons of the team that came up was when the injury bug hit, and then they just had a lot of drama happen with the team with Roberto Osuna, whom is still not a part of the roster, Josh Donaldson. Troy Tulowitzki hasn't played a game for the team yet this year. It's a lot of big concern, and that's why when it came to the deadline, we figured the Blue Jays would be making some moves to move out some of these expiring contracts. They only moved out essentially one, unless you want to call Shinhan Ho, who they traded to the Colorado Rockies earlier last week. The Blue Jays are having a season that I think is actually a disappointment, not just because of the wins and losses. I expected this team to be a wild card team, in my opinion, or be just shy of that. So I was on the fence if this team was a playoff team. If they did make the playoffs, I'd be excited. If they didn't, I wouldn't be disappointed because I fully wasn't expecting it, because I feel like in comparison to the Yankees and Red Sox, you weren't competing with them. And when you look at the Angels and Mariners and the Astros going into this year, when I had to combine the tape with that, I didn't think the Blue Jays had what it takes, especially with the bullpen that they fielded the first game. And the first game wasn't presented to that with the Yankees absolutely shellacking them. So the Blue Jays right now, I'm disappointed with their season in terms of what they didn't do. Now, I'm very curious to see if anything was done with Josh Donaldson in hopes to trade him, or in hopes to even trade him in the non-waiver deadline. I'm curious to see if the Jays even consider trying to trade Marco Estrada. I'm even curious to see if the team even tried to trade Tyler Clippard. Why not? Why not move out any body possible to get in any type of prospect or international pool money by any means necessary? It just makes sense. Look, coming from a sports guy as myself, I really think that if you know you are not re-signing a guy, along with knowing that you are not going to be making the playoffs, you have to make a move to move out those expiring contracts to get value for nothing. I can refer to hockey on this point. I know it's off topic, but look at the New York Islanders with John Tavares. They actually thought they had a realistic chance of re-signing John Tavares. But they didn't end up re-signing him. He jolted for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the offseason. Now, a lot of people look at the Islanders season and see it in a certain perspective of maybe they had a positive year in the way of subtraction from that salary cap. No, that's absolute garbage. Doesn't matter if it's hockey, doesn't matter if it's baseball, doesn't matter if it's basketball. If I know my star player is not going to be resigned, even if I think I have a remote chance, I am moving him. You can call me crazy, but as a general manager for any sport, if I know my star player is in free agency, I'm hitting the contract negotiations at the beginning of the year. I'm meeting his demands because if he is a star player, I'm giving him what he wants. And if he does not accept, I'm looking at ways to trade him. Even without him knowing. I'm getting feelers out there. Now, in regards to the Jays, again, I will state Josh Donaldson's hurt. It's hard to make that trade. It's even hard to make that trade with Marco Estrada. But why couldn't a certain trade be made? Is there still time? Absolutely there is. Will teams be eager to get Donaldson? Wouldn't you? I'd be head over heels to get Josh Donaldson in my lineup. Be crazy not to have him in your lineup. I don't care what type of season he's had, low average, some injuries. I feel you put him in the right situation. You use him correctly, he can get back to form very quickly. And that passion that he has for the game, he'll work tirelessly for you. And you have a chance to have a very, very good third baseman, if not one of the best when healthy in the league, as I said at the top. What teams, though, will want him now? That's also a very good question. The Brewers have made their move for Mike Moraca. You don't think the Yankees are going to be buying? Potentially they might, because they lost on the Manny Machado trade. So you can look maybe that route for Josh Donaldson, but I think that'd be a very tight trade to make. The Boston Red Sox, I can't see them making that move. Would the Diamondbacks consider making that move? I don't think so. Would the Cubs? Definitely not. They don't need a third baseman. The Astros? Maybe. Maybe they'll take a little swing at Josh Donaldson. I kind of like the idea of the Astros. I think that actually makes a little bit of sense. It definitely makes sense, I think, for Josh Donaldson to go over to the Astros. I've said that on the show before. I think the Astros should maybe take a swing, pun intended, at Josh Donaldson. I don't know why some teams haven't looked at Tyler Clippard. I feel like he's had a decent year and he could be useful out of your bullpen, especially when it comes to playoff time. I'm thinking, why don't the Brewers go after Tyler Clippard? I know you can't move Troy Tulowitzki, so I'm not even going to go down that path. I know you can't move Russell Martin because of his contract being as steep as it is. Hopefully they can explore moving him in the offseason. But what upsets me is not the fact that the Blue Jays not making the playoffs this year, because it's not going to happen. I wish they would have been a wild card team, as I feel that that's what was deserved by looking at the roster and paper. But now, as the year went on and who they had going up against with the Yankees, Red Sox, the teams I mentioned earlier, they didn't have the team that would go far. Despite I would have liked to see 1 game or 7 games, it definitely makes sense the Blue Jays are not deserving of making the playoffs. So I feel you have to make a move to get some prospects, get some money, get some value for the players that are not returning, and give the young guys a chance in the lineup. And no, I'm not pointing at Vlad Jr. I'm not just pointing at Vlad Jr. I like how they're taking the time with them. Put him in AAA. Maybe bring him up in September with the roster expansion. I like that idea. Bo Bichette, same thing. But Lourdes Gurriel, who's having a killer week with the Toronto Blue Jays, I like seeing that. Guys like Diaz, give him lots. Why not even move Curtis Granderson? There's another player I can't forget. Why not move him and get Dwight Smith more playing time in the field? Play a young team, young guys that have already played a few years in AAA. I'm not, like I said, point at Vlad Jr., but just get the young guys in to play out the rest of the season. That is what I wanted to see from the Toronto Blue Jays. That is what I'm upset about, that they're not doing this right this year by trying to move guys. And if they are trying to move guys, I apologize. If they haven't been able to move guys for absolutely anything, which I would find hard to believe, because if I'm a team, I would pay international pool money for Josh Johnson. That's the minimum you can get for him. I don't know why a team wouldn't pull the trigger on that if that's what the Blue Jays are trying to get. But maybe the Blue Jays are asking too much. I don't know what it is. Either way, a deal has to get done to move off these expiring contracts, get some younger guys in that lineup, and get the young guys to play out the rest of the year and reevaluate going into the offseason next year. Trading Marcus Stroman, thumbs down as well to that rumor. He's the heart and soul of that pitching rotation. I'm sorry, Aaron Sanchez. I'm a big fan of Marcus Stroman. His passion, his energy is absolutely amazing. And him and Sanchez are guys you do not move from that rotation. End of story. Again, I will say to recap the Toronto Blue Jays aspect, thumbs down on the year, not just in terms of the record, but in terms of what they have not done. The J-Hap trade is the one thing, yes, I like, and the O trade to the Rockies, sure, I like that. But there's other players that they still can get value for that they haven't moved yet. And like I said, if they've tried to trade them, good on them. I stand corrected. But again, it doesn't seem like they are trying to trade them. And it's sad because when Josh Johnson signs to another team next year, we're going to be wishing we got something for him rather than nothing. That's going to wrap up our Blue Jays and MLB discussion here on the Game Sports Show. And that's actually going to wrap up tonight's show here on the Game Sports Show. We want to say thank you to Scott Nason, our board operator. I want to say thanks to Brandon Brooks, Colin Miller, also to Brad Conchimilio and Justin Heichel for coming on by here tonight. Brad and Justin, whom took off a little bit early from the show here tonight, as I allowed them some vacation time, and because I kind of wanted to hog the mic as well for the remainder of the show. And I must say thanks to the staff here at Silver Creek Golf Course, and I gotta say thanks to Aaron Grisdak, Mitch Wilson, Lauren Tavanen, and to the Boston Pizza staff for the great hospitality they've given us since January the 4th up until now, and the hospitality they always give us. I cannot say thank you enough, and it's been a great pleasure to be a partner with Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, and you'll be greatly missed with the family here on the Game Sports Show. We are looking forward to our new partnership with Northern Superior Brewery as this show continues to ascend, but definitely very, very appreciative of what Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie has done for the Game Sports Show, and the Game Sports Show is extremely thankful and can't say thank you enough. And for the show's agenda this week, we'll be at the Wicked Sister tomorrow, myself and Scott Nason, Katie Woolen, EJ Russell, and Butch Davis, and we will be on bye week from Sports Center Bar and Grill. We may have a special edition with Matt Primo and Jamie Antonello, quick 20 minutes to 30 minutes recap of SaberCats playoff football. We will have a show at Silver Creek this week. We are aiming for Thursday at 7:30. That may be subject to change, so make sure you keep an eye on your ticker for that. And we will be making our debut, myself, Brad, and Justin, at Pier 55 at Northern Superior Brewery, August the 5th. And that will be the week that the Game Sports Show has in store for you. You've been listening to The Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com and on www.thegamesportshow.com. I want to say thank you for stopping on by. I got to say thank you to a list of our sponsors: Boston Pizza, Silver Creek Golf Course, Sports Center Bar and Grill, Northern Quitters in Need, Big Brother Big Sister, The Wicked Sister, Pingator Cleaners, North Shore Sports and Auto, The Superior Pro Shop, The Salon, Discover the Canvas, KBX Hockey, and of course Northern Signs as well. You can purchase our t-shirts for $25 on our website. Just email the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com. State the amount of shirts and sizes that you need, and you can do an e-transfer, and we will have the shirt to you within 72 hours, if not right away, if in stock. Make sure you send in your answer to the Game Sports Show, ssm at gmail.com, for our trivia question, which was, what was the best record that the Sioux Thunderbirds had up to date? And when you submit your answer, make sure you submit the record, the points, and the year. And for bonus, submit the roster as well for that season. Now, until tomorrow night, here on the Game Sports Show, once again, thank you for stopping by. Keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.